Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today I am talking about a marvelous disc of lesser-known chamber works. I find it extraordinary that these are lesser known because they're some of the most entertaining chamber music I've ever heard in my life. It's Ernst von Dohnanyi, or Erno Dohnanyi, however you want to do it, his Serenade for string trio, and his Sextet for piano, strings, clarinet, and horn. These are wonderful, wonderful pieces. Dohnanyi, as we know, or some of you may know, he was an unbelievably gifted person musically. I mean, he taught everybody, Bartók and Kodály and all those people. They were all his students. So the whole Hungarian school in the 20th century. He was forced out of Hungary, actually, for various political things that we don't need to go into, and wound up in the United States. He died in 1960, and I believe he lived in Florida at the time. And, his life was rather long. Let's see, what was it? 1877 to 1960. Yeah, he lived to be like 83, 84. And he didn't write that much. He was a very careful composer. But what he wrote mostly is terrific. He started off, he always had a sort of conservative musical style. It was neo-Brahmsian, is what you might call it. But it had its own particular slant. There was always, first of all, the Hungarian element, which was not as thick and heavy as some other people were to do later, but it's there. His gifts were enormous. He was a tremendous pianist. He was a great orchestrator. He was, he was really just a what do you call it? A multi something or whatever. There's a word for it. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. He was multifarious, and I think these two chamber pieces are delicious. He adored the classical tradition, and he really knew how to milk it. But more importantly, the most important thing about him is that he had a sense of humor. He had a wonderful sense of humor that he was able to express in his music, and that is such a rare quality. My goodness, where do we find that? We find it in Mahler, we find it in Haydn, we find it in a few people, but basically it's pretty rare. That makes his chamber music absolutely delightful because it adds a whole other layer of expression instead of the usual serious, it's happy, it's sad. I mean, it can be funny, and his variations on a nursery tune, which is a hilariously clever piece of music. And there's so much more than that. I mean, we'll talk about more of it in the years to come for sure. I already did speak about one of his symphonic minutes as one of the miniature masterpieces that you can go check out. It's just delightful. But these two works are great. So what are they? First, you get the Serenade for string trio. Now, the obvious model for the Serenade was the Mozart Divertimento for string trio, which is the greatest string trio ever written. This one is lighter, actually, than the Mozart, but it has, let's see, it has 5 movements, a march, a romanza, a scherzo, a theme and variations, and a rondo finale, which is absolutely similar in style and shape and all of that stuff to what Mozart did. And gosh, it's delightful. And you'd never know, you'd never think that 3 strings could be so rich and sonorous. It's so beautifully written for the 3 string players. Then we get the Sextet. Oh, the Sextet. I love the Sextet. My goodness, it dates from like 1935. You'd never really know it because stylistically it really sounds, late 19th century, but it doesn't matter because good music is good music. And this is really good music. Now, the Sextet has the usual 4 movements, an allegro appassionato, a very serious, almost tragic mean. It really is just wonderful. And then an intermezzo, an adagio, and then allegro con sentimento, a kind of like a Brahmsian intermezzo / scherzo thing. And it's really wonderful. It leads directly into the finale, which is allegro vivace, giocoso, and giocoso it really is. Oh, it's one of the funniest, breeziest, most wonderful finales in the world. And it's got a main tune that will get stuck in your head, and you will not be able to get it out. I want to play it for you. I want to play you the transition from the slow movement, or that intermezzo. It's not really a slow movement, that intermediary thing to the finale and the first minute or so of the finale. It's just amazing. You're going to be wondering where it's been all your life. So here it is. And that, by the way, is my performance of choice. It's with the Spectrum Concerts Berlin. They're under Frank S. Dodge. And the Spectrum Concerts Berlin are a wonderful selection of soloists. You've got Janine Jansen, violin, and Yoel Waterman, viola, and Christian Poltera on the cello. And Frank Dodge is a cellist, and Daniel Blumenthal is the pianist, and the horn is Ron Schapper. And, oh my good God, how could they do this to me? Lars Wouters van der Oudenweyer is the clarinetist. I'm looking at this name. Why? We're looking for it to end. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate components, this name. Just call him Lars. Oh my word. How could you do that to me, folks? It's on Naxos. And it's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. If you're looking for some just delightful chamber music for a rainy day to just perk you up and make you feel good about the universe, and God knows we need things that make us feel good about the universe, this disc is just the ticket. Again, it's on Naxos, and it's just fantastic with the Spectrum Concerts Berlin. Dohnanyi's Serenade for string trio and Sextet for strings, horn, and clarinet. You are going to just love it. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.